Hello, and welcome to the Oregon Files podcast. First, our disclaimer. We are novice podcasters simply for entertainment. If we misquote or offend, it was not on purpose to do so. Now, today we're recording from my spare attic space, so you might hear dogs, neighbors, rain. It's raining right now because it's winter and it's Oregon, so we get rain. And today we have a fun episode, which is Elliot and I, and we're going to cover alcohol. Alcohol-related stories in Oregon. But first, my co-host, Elliot Bowman.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's a rainy but warm day here, which usually kind of means more rain's probably on the way.
More rain.
Quick thank you to Dave and Kyle for hanging out with us last episode, talking about favorite movies and stuff. That was a lot of fun. I hope everyone enjoyed that. And folks, if you want to get a hold of the show, you can contact us at OregonFilesPodcast@yahoo.com. If you want to tell your neighbors, your friends, your mail lady, your priest, your whatever, your dentist about the Oregon Files podcast, spread the good word. We appreciate all the listens. And if you subscribe to on YouTube, Mark puts it out there on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. The great thing about podcasts is you don't really need to listen to the whole episode, as much as I would love to know that everyone's listening to every single word we say.
Every word.
I mean, generally, when I listen to a podcast, I kind of put it on in the background a little bit, or if you're fancy enough to have it in your car, just put it on your car. However you want to listen to us, we appreciate it. Subscribe, even leave a comment would be great. We just appreciate all the listens and stuff. And starting March 1st, we're going to start taking orders for merchandise. And right now we're only having a little bit of a merchandise, which is just hoodies and t-shirts. But if you would like a hoodie or a t-shirt, please email us at OregonFilesPodcast@yahoo.com, or you can even message me on Instagram, and we will work with you, letting you know what kind of the pricing and sizes that we have to offer. We use a local print shop here in town in Roseburg, so it's not as quick as a bigger print shop. Again, starting March 1st, we will have some merchandise available. So if you're interested, just contact us either through the email address or social media, and we would be happy to kind of get those out to whoever is interested. So
that's right, and we'll be packaging them out ourselves. So if you do order something, just know that one of the podcast hosts shipped your item to you.
That's right.
Lick the envelope and everything.
But we're happy to kind of get that going. We are. Some point this year we'll have a website up, so it'll be a lot easier to kind of order things and kind of even go out there and listen to episodes. Not that it's not hard at all now, but there's that exciting news.
I love it. So yes, first we'll go to our sponsors here. First, I'm going to shout out Video Games Plus and Level Up Frozen Yogurt. Hey, they're open 7 days a week off Stevens in Roseburg, Oregon. Level Up Frozen Yogurt has new flavors every month, some are dairy free, and over 50 toppings, including fresh fruit. Do-it-yourself yogurt, half a video game / board game / very, pop culture type stuff on the right side. They got pinball machines in there. It's really a cool place just to go and hang out. You're going to find something you want. There are all kinds of cool merchandise. But yeah, Video Games Plus and Level Up Frozen Yogurt.
Mm-hmm. And Two Shy Brewery. Two Shy Brewery is located here in Roseburg, Oregon, off of Garden Valley. They also own Bandon Brewery and Pizza, and Two Shy Brewery is now expanded into Reedsport, Oregon, along the coast. Nothing better than about 65, 70 degrees, coastal weather, sun shining, and just a nice cold beer. That's the epitome of a good day right there. If you want to see what they have going on, best place to check out Two Shy is just on their Instagram page. They do rotating food trucks here over in Bandon. They got the pizza shop, and then I believe they're also doing food trucks over in Reedsport. But check them out on Instagram at Two Shy and Two Shy Brewery and see what they got going on.
Very nice.
Good people.
Okay, so today's episode, El, you had a good idea too. You're going to cover, I think, breweries and the history of alcohol in Oregon, right?
Yeah, I got some stories about the brewing history in Oregon, kind of how it started a little bit. And there's a little bit of controversy on the first recorded brewery and who started it in Oregon. And then I just have a little blurb about Henry Weinhard, which is probably the most recognizable name in brewing in Oregon history. And then I have some Amazon reviews that I
Oh.
found.
Oh,
So we'll dive into those.
general public.
That's right. Those are always good. So we'll talk about all that. So
I love it. And I'm going to cover, and I'll be very honest with you. I picked my title and what I was going to cover, not knowing the subject. So it's called the Champagne Riots of Roseburg. And I picked it before I knew what the story was about. So this is going to be very interesting. So yeah, we'll go from there. We might have some other fun stuff we're going to cover. Oh yeah, we're going to cover a recent trip to Mexico and how it's going to tie into the episode with a bad book review.
another bad book review.
I'm telling you, I read a lot of books, and when I come across one that defends me personally, I gotta cover it. So yeah, let's start off with the Champagne Riots. But I first need to cover, there's two different types of Champagne Riots that happened, okay? The first Champagne Riot technically was in Douglas County on Christmas Day, 1866. That's the first Champagne Riot. The other, but the more traditional, what's more well-known, is actually the Champagne Riots of 1910 and 1911 in France. Now, here's the funny part about the ones in France. I want to cover that a little first, too, because it's going to make more sense for what I talk about in Oregon.
Champagne riots sound like a lot of fun, though.
You would think. But really what the Champagne Riots of 1910, 1911 resulted from a series of problems faced by grape growers in the Champagne area of France. So
Okay.
basically what happened was the government decided what areas were allowed to decide what, basically, this is the Champagne region and this is not the Champagne region. Well, when they said that this region wasn't, they were growing champagne grapes. So it was the region what it was. And so for literally bloodshed, people lost houses. It really started in 1908 with the government stuff and then went into 1911. But yeah, France had this real bad series for like 3 years of the Champagne Riots. Eventually got it calmed down. They redistributed it and said, who could grow what grapes where and what it would be called. So Champagne technically comes from the Champagne region of France. Okay. And that's why that was established.
You like champagne? You like the bubbly?
I will be very honest with you. I don't think I've ever had champagne. If I have, it was in a mimosa, and I did not know that was added to it.
You're like, why does it taste so good?
Is a mimosa orange juice and champagne?
Yeah.
Then yes, I think I've had champagne before.
But not like straight champagne.
I
like
haven't had straight
celebrating,
champagne. So to our listeners, I don't partake in the alcohol as much, very rarely. The other day, accidentally, I was trying to be real cool. I was at a really fancy restaurant in Spokane, Washington, and I ordered, I asked him if he had absinthe because I think that's a cool thing to drink. And he goes, yeah, do you want it neat?
Yeah.
And
Do you know what that means?
And I did not know what that means. And here's the deal. Traditionally, absinthe you have with like a little sugar cube and to help to take away the taste of straight absinthe, right? No, neat means you just get literally a straight shot of absinthe in a glass.
Right.
It was like trying to drink varnish that you're going to clean wood with or something like that, right? It was so, I took 3 sips into it and my tongue was like, we're done.
You didn't like smell it first? Like, what's this going to taste like before I down this thing?
Once again, it was baby sips. I looked like, I probably looked like a frog just testing the water or something like that. Just
Right.
little licks,
Putting your toe in.
And that's probably about the amount of alcohol I'll have all year is that 3 little sips.
Nothing wrong with that.
Now let's go to the Champagne Riots in Douglas County on Christmas, 1866. Now take in mind, this is before the Champagne Riots in France. Now the Champagne Riot in Douglas County in Oregon, by the way, this information comes from the Oregon Encyclopedia, article by Jeff Lalande, and with contributing stuff by Offbeat Oregon is the name of the website by Finn John. Thank you, gentlemen, for letting me read your articles and mispronounce every word in here.
We are so good about pronouncing stuff.
So good about it. So the Champagne Riots that took place, nothing to do with Champagne. Champagne was the last name of the guy.
I would have thought it would be champagne.
I would have thought too. So I started reading this article. I'm like, this is hysterical. I thought they called the Champagne Riot because it had to involve with champagne.
Yeah.
Nope, no champagne. But the funny part was it did have to involve drunk people. So here we go.
Well, most
things, right?
Yeah,
Most riots
right.
probably have some alcohol fueled.
Yeah. Probably a high percentage of them.
Right?
Yeah. Probably most fights too.
That'd be the best advertisement for like a fight or for like a rally or something like that, like fueled by alcohol.
Right.
Okay, so it generated statewide newspaper coverage named for a Roseburg area settler whose name where it occurred. It was a result of political, social, and interpersonal fault lines that developed during the Civil War era in the Northwest, particularly in Southern Oregon. At the time, Douglas County was like a microcosm of the United States. There was a Republican majority in the more populous and powerful northern part of the county, which had voted itself in full control of county government, much to the fury of the resentful disenfranchised Dixie-friendly majority in the south of the county. And like Washington, D.C., between the warring North and South, the county seat in Roseburg was located almost directly between the two regions. So you have this approval and disapproval of the outcome of the Civil War, and the subsequent Reconstruction program in the South split the Roseburg community right down the middle, with Southern Democrats bitterly resentful and Republicans and pro-union Democrats gloatingly triumphant.
Interesting. So even that far west, the politics that was happening in the South and Washington was really affecting a little rural community town in Roseburg.
I never would have thought that too. I thought the Civil War was all in the South. Nope.
But I guess, I don't know, I guess that almost kind of makes sense, because if you believe one way or the other, you're gonna be talking about it with somebody, and you're still affiliated with that political party.
And there's a lot of,
you feel affected by it.
Oh, absolutely.
Because those are what your belief system.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense.
Even Roseburg itself is not immune. I mean, the fact that we've had racist signs all the way up to the 1970s.
Right.
The Champagne Riot started out on Christmas Day between two different Christmas parties that were going on. Feelings were so sore in the Roseburg area that the two sides each threw their own party. The pro-Southern citizens threw their Christmas ball at Goods Mill near Roseburg, and the Unionists had theirs in the home of Joseph Champagne in the tiny, now long gone hamlet of French settlement 6 miles west of Roseburg.
Interesting.
Yeah, there used to be a little French settlement west of Roseburg. Yeah.
Who knew?
I know.
So they decided we're throwing a party and we're throwing a party.
Yeah. Opposite
we
sides
can't
of the
combine
town.
parties.
Can't combine parties. We can't get along.
Right.
Yeah.
Not even for Christmas.
We're very upset. You guys say that we shouldn't own slaves. We disagree.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think there was like alcohol distributor that was like kind of torn? Like, who should I?
Oh, he's in both parties. He's in both parties. He
so?
made he made a lot of money.
Made a lot of money
because there's two parties. He made money.
Yeah, he was like, one got delivered like the night before, the other one was like the morning of. Yeah. He kind of played both sides.
He told both sides. He goes, "Oh no, I'm only selling to you."
Right.
Yeah. That's because alcohol is going to play a factor in this. Here's where this escalates into a riot. You ready?
Yeah.
Everything was fine and jolly and festive until about 3 a.m. when the pro-Southern party wound its way to a close and the dancers and revelers started heading home to bed.
Oh, no.
But a small group of them, young, hot-blooded men from old Southern families, decided the night was still young enough for some more action.
3 a.m.
3 a.m.
Nothing good ever happens at 3 a.m.
And here's the deal. This is in 1866. So it's
the
not
imagery is crazy.
Yeah, it's pitch dark.
Right. And those guys, they're dressed like in top hats, like 3 overcoats, like nice trousers.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're not wearing sneakers.
Yeah.
They got nice shoes on. They're just hammered off whatever they're drinking in 1866.
Armed to the teeth and well fortified with holiday spirits,
sarsaparilla,
these young troublemakers set out on a horseback for French settlement 4 miles away. The primary purpose of the visit was for one of the 5, Solomon Culver, to settle a score with one of the Unionists, George Bennett. Culver's cousin, John Fitzhugh, came along, and 3 of Culver's friends, Abe Crow, Bob Fords, and John Hannon, rounded out the little war party.
And this couldn't wait until anyone sobered up.
No.
Let's wait.
We got to
a couple days at least.
Once again, here's the best part. This is why I love this to today's day. When you read the police logs and something happens at 3 a.m.,
it's true.
Somebody's drunk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We've had some good police logs.
Oh. So Fitzhugh was a particularly interesting character, reportedly a distant relative of Robert E. Lee. He was a prominent Democrat leader in Roseburg and the founder and former publisher of Roseburg's first newspaper, the Roseburg Express, which he launched in 1860, just before the Civil War broke out. Fitzhugh and his 4 comrades arrived at the rivals' gang party at 4 a.m. I love that they were 4 miles away, but the horse took about took about an hour to get there. They were drunk too. The horse was like, "Where do you want to go?"
Right.
Yeah.
Like
horse
the
is
hour.
I can't see it.
You would like the hour long it takes to get there. Like no one's like second guessing. Like maybe this isn't the best idea.
Not at all.
They're probably like still drinking on their horseback. Do you get DUIs in 1866 riding a horse?
Oh, I love that. No, I don't think so.
There was no DUIs back then?
That's a good idea to look it up. I don't know. Did they have DUIs? Or
no, they probably started with like the cars, right?
Is it horsing under the influence? HUIs? I don't know.
Or donkeys.
Right, yeah.
Man, that's where it started from. DUIs, donkeys.
Donkey under, yeah. Donkey under the influence. Uninvited and unwelcomed at the dance, the 5 men soon made their hostile intent evident by refusing to remove their hats and dancing in an insulting manner.
Okay, there's a little footloose action going on.
I
there.
love it. I love they show up. Hey, you guys got to take off your hats. We refuse.
Yeah.
You how?
My hat is part of my outfit. No, sir.
And then the dancing in an insulting manner.
That's the best part.
That's amazing.
That's footloose.
It's perfect. Yeah. Culver found Bennett, whipped out his Dragoon revolver, and pistol whipped him across the face.
Oh my gosh.
Breaking the guy's nose.
Oh my gosh.
Then the party's host, Frank Berenger, hurried to the scene, apparently to try to defuse the situation. And presumably after a heated exchange of words, Fitzhugh pulled a Berenger as well and shot him through the heart.
Oh my gosh. That escalated so quick.
Berenger slipped to the floor and died without speaking another word.
Whoa.
So the poor guy's hosting it, right? It's not even his house.
He's trying to break it up.
He's trying to break it up, gets shot in the heart and dies. Champagne's
Wrong place,
house.
wrong time.
Berenger's the host, and he dies because of these guys. Now, then fists, knives, and pistols started flashing and flying. The fiddler player, Ash Clayton, set down his instrument, grabbed a knife, and used it to let some air out of Solomon Clover's left lung.
The fiddler player?
The fiddler player, Ash Clayton, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Fiddle down,
So he was
knife. Abe Crow took offense to the fiddler player joining in and pulled his revolver and then shot Clayton twice with it.
There's none of that here.
None of that.
Everyone's dying.
Everyone's
no saving
dying.
lives.
So yeah, so Abe Crow shot Clayton the fiddler twice, once in the leg and once in the scalp, and then slashed him across the head with a knife.
What is going on here?
Fitzhugh, now armed only with the empty Derringer because he shot all his bullets, rushed another partygoer named Tom Thompson, which turned out to be a huge mistake because Thompson clearly knew his way around a 6-shooter better than anyone else in the room. 2 gunshots later, Fitzhugh was down for the night. Not dead, but badly wounded.
Oh my gosh.
So the guy who starts it, he goes against the one best gunslinger in the whole
he's just
place, and boom, he's out in like 2 minutes.
Billy the Kid.
The fight starts, he's out.
Why didn't that guy show up earlier and like diffuse the whole situation?
I think it all just erupted at once. Forbes and Hannon, 2 of the other guys from the southern side, seeing this, attacked Thompson and were also shot down. Thompson, man, 3 guys of this 5-person party, he shot.
He's like Clint Eastwood.
Crow.
If you don't want to die, you need to move out back.
You're done. Yeah, just
Right.
to sleep. Exactly. Yeah, Tom Thompson's the Clint Eastwood of this whole thing.
Right.
Playing Abe Crow, suddenly realizing he was the only survivor of his little war party, fled into the night. Over the next week or 2, much to the surprise of nearly everyone, nearly all the injured parties rallied and recovered. Only Bob Forbes, whose spine had been broken by Thompson's revolver ball, and Berenger, who was shot on the heart, were the 2 that died.
Terrible.
Only 2 guys died.
The fiddler made it.
The fiddler did just fine.
How do you move on from that?
Well,
It's not like it's a big town. You're gonna see in the general store the guy that
that's just it.
you just attacked a couple nights before.
Yeah. It makes it so awkward around town. You know
So
what I mean?
awkward.
It's uncomfortable.
There's not that many places to hide. You
Here's
got like one street.
That's just it, right? You know?
5 buildings.
Now, Fitzhugh, the guy who started everything, was soon arrested and put on trial for murder with
good.
Hannon. Crow, who had made a dreadful mess of fiddler player Clayton, couldn't be found. So even though he did try to kill Clayton, Clayton ended up recovering from his wounds, the fiddler player. It's not clear why Culver wasn't charged, but chances are good his stab wound was still too serious for him to make a court appearance.
Jeez.
The murder trial of John Fitzhugh and a friend, John Hannon, aroused the passions of Douglas County's divided community. Lafayette Mosier, a prominent pro-slavery Democrat and son-in-law of former U.S. Senator Joseph Lane, which we have a middle school named after, by the way.
Let that sink in.
Amazing. Represented the defendants.
Oh my gosh.
Among the prosecuting attorneys, all of them Republicans, was Binger Herman.
Binger Herman?
Binger. B-I-N-G-R.
What a great name.
Never heard
That's
that name before.
First of all, that's a great attorney name.
That's a Binger of a name.
That's a Binger Herman.
Binger Herman.
I mean, I can imagine that on a billboard.
By the end of the trial, each side had been accommodated. The 2 men were found guilty, but they received comparative light sentences.
Light sentences?
Light sentences.
Oh, boy.
Slaps on the wrists.
Right. Community service.
Right.
Wild.
So that's how that went down. That is the Champagne Riot, the first Champagne Riot on record. The funny part is just kind of a big deal because all the newspapers ran with it and made it out to be a bigger thing at the time than really what it was.
Right.
Because some of the newspapers reported that like 20 people were murdered and things like that. So they just kind of had to, once the stories, but it became the big news story at the time because was so tied to the Civil War. To what you got there?
About breweries in Oregon.
Yes.
Not only are we sponsored by a brewery,
Woo!
I enjoy visiting breweries. I've had the pleasure of visiting many lovely breweries in Oregon. I find myself a little bit of a beer connoisseur. Now, I started off my early drinking days, of course, legally drinking days, as somebody that, I wasn't too interested in kind of the hoppiness or the process that goes into the beer or even really what the beer tastes like. I had a beer that was fine, right? But as I've evolved as a beer drinker, I've grown to appreciate the process, the people, and the product that they're putting out there. So I'm a, what do you call I'm a Michelin star beer drinker. How about that?
Yeah. I think I text you all the time with like questions or things like that too. Like, have you ever had this?
I don't know if I should be bragging about that, but drink responsibly.
Love it.
So the story of brewing in Oregon is actually intertwined with the history of immigration, transportation, agriculture, prohibition, and urbanization. Liquor was popular in the West as early as the 1830s, when fur traders distilled a beverage known as Blue Ruin, which makes it even more interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
Blue Ruin? Like, are you ruining yourself?
Yeah.
And why is it blue? What the heck would give something a blue color? And I'm looking at that and I'm like,
that's not
should
natural.
I drink that? It's blue and it's called Blue Ruin. I'll go ahead and drink this.
Later became Windex.
Right. Which they actually traded with local natives.
Oh, hey.
So men stationed at Fort Vancouver, they imported beer, and missionary Hiram Bingham wrote in 1829 that they cultivated and malted barley for beer and anticipated exporting in small quantity. Hard liquor was still very popular with early white settlers, and some engaged in small-scale brewing, but it wasn't until the 1850s that a commercial beer production began in earnest in Oregon.
Okay.
So this is where we kind of get into this. Yeah, this is where we kind of get into a little bit here. So in 1854, there was an issue of the Weekly Oregonian carried the first advertisement for a commercial brewery in the Oregon Territory. It was appearing alongside ads for whiskey, bakeries, wagon shops, and hotels. So in 1854, you kind of had your first advertisement for a commercial brewery. And we'll talk about that here in a second. By 1859, breweries were operating in the Dalles, Jacksonville, Oregon City, and Portland.
Okay.
As the population grew, small breweries opened throughout the state. Saloons and mercantile shops that sold alcohol were often among the earliest businesses, and even remote towns had a ready customer base in the men who worked in the mining, logging, fishing, and canning industries.
Huh.
So we'll talk a little more about the history here. The first verifiable record of a brewery in Oregon is advertisement for the Portland Brewery and General Grocery Establishment in August 5th, 1854, which was with the Weekly Oregonian. English-born Charles Barrett, later a well-known bookstore owner, operated the business on Front Street and sold merchandise, such as candles, ham, matches, and stone jugs. He also sold alcohol, wine, and beer in caskets and bottles. He operated the brewery from 1852 to 1855.
Wow. Because Oregon didn't become a state till 1859.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
So there's kind of a little bit of controversy on who was actually credited for owning the first commercial brewery. Some sources credit, I found that he was either Swiss or German born. His name was Henry Saxer, and he owned a brewery. It was called Liberty Brewery. It was supposedly Oregon's first commercial brewery. It supposedly, a lot of this is supposedly, opened in 1852. Tia Edmondson Morton, who is an Oregon State University archivist, she's actually in charge. I actually found this website. It's really cool. It's the Oregon Hops and Brewery Archive. Wow. There's a lot of information out there, right?
Wow.
Tons of information out there. She said that Oregon had a perfect melange of pioneering spirit, do-it-yourself mentality, strong pub culture, and farming roots kind of helped reach beervana is what she called it.
That makes sense.
We have good we have good cultivating land for hops and barley, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
we
it
do.
rains a lot, it's sun.
It's big.
Right. She said, what we see happening is very Oregon, culturally, economically, agriculturally. It's exciting to have hop fields and easy driving distance from my house. So Liberty Brewery actually opened in 1852 and it closed in 1862. It was open for 10 years, and Liberty Brewery was active brewery in Portland, Oregon. And we'll talk about a little more about Henry and Henry Weinhardt, how he comes into the scene here in just a second. So Henry Saxer opened the Liberty Brewery in Portland. He was soon followed by Henry Weinhardt, who would become the first nationally known Oregon brewery. So Edmondson Morton, the archivist, said that Saxer and Weinhardt could pass for craft breweries, but it actually might be a stretch. They did introduce new product and to celebrate the craft beer. She kind of looks at it more intentionally, where they were really kind of experimenting with new tastes. They were kind of just figuring out how to make different styles, different beers, what ingredients go together, because nowadays there's so much different varieties of beers, right?
It's crazy. You get pumpkin spice stuff.
Oh
now,
my gosh,
yeah.
there's so many. So back then they were kind of like, I think they had hops and barley, and they were kind of figuring out what else could we grow to put into whatever the big jugs or whatever they were brewing in.
I love it. That'd been fun to do. You know what I mean?
I've thought about it myself. So she even said they added raspberries at one point.
Heck yeah.
In the years leading up to Prohibition, some Oregon saloons were actually connected to breweries where local malt, hops, and yeast produced small handcrafted batches of beer. In 1914, 5 years before the national ban on sale and alcohol products, before Oregon went dry, Governor Oswald West signed an executive order announcing statewide alcohol prohibition following a ballot initiative. There was a headline in the Oregonian warning, "Public hanging in store for Old John Barleycorn."
Whoa.
And there's an article about basically, if you're caught doing this, you're going to be hanged.
Just going to hang you? Dang.
Right. And there was a lot of, I don't know if you know a little bit, Prohibition really was kind of, the driving force behind Prohibition was, there was a women's organization.
Yes.
I can't remember exact, but I think they were kind of tired of their husbands being drunk and being abusive.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
And they really pushed for the reform on alcohol and pushed for Prohibition.
Yes.
So we kind of fast forward to 1933. Prohibition ended up being repealed. At that time, Oregon led the world in hop production with more than 34,000 acres in production.
So wait, as soon as Prohibition's lifted, like, boom.
Oregon, they just opened up like they were ready to go. 34,000 acres in production. When it came to beer, however, the public gravitated to lighter lagers.
Wow.
So the lager style beer. There wasn't much adventure in beer. Like the beer aisle of the supermarkets in Oregon. It said in Oregon, Lucky, Olympia, and Rainier were the closest thing drinkers could get to locally brewed creations. So we're going to fast forward a little bit more here. In 1969, Portlander Fred Eckhart published a book on how to make lagers in your garage. It actually helped spark a national movement to re-legalize home brewing. Wow. So this guy in Portland wrote a book, and that kind of sparked the whole nation movement of people experimenting, creating their own beers in your home, your self startups in your garage or whatever.
Because it's such a big thing now. Like,
it's a huge thing. You can go online and buy your self-starting kits. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, there's kits. Like people go to you just it's wild, and that's awesome.
Yeah, people from Portland like to have good quality things: strawberries, tomatoes, beer cheese. They like a lot of things, but they have to be good quality. Eckhart, a one-time Oregonian beer columnist, told the National Geographic in 2001. Lots of other breweries are so mundane. Budweiser is trying to be the best brewery in the world, but if you try to please everyone, you end up not pleasing anyone. That's what we're working on, the anybody. So 1974, brothers Mike and Brian McMiniman, who grew up in Northeast Portland, opened up the Produce Row Cafe. So now McMiniman, early 1974s, they kind of get into place here.
Okay.
In 1980, Charles Corey opened up Cartwright Brewing Company at 617 Southeast Main Street in Portland, producing a light ale called Portland Beer. I guess the beer wasn't great. When the brewery went out of business in 1981, it was delivering between 350 and 400 cases to local tavern and supermarket. Sales would have to approach about 700 cases a month for him to break even. The last batch was auctioned off for $1 a case to help pay off any county tax liens. Yeesh. In 1984, Bridgeport Brewing Company, Full Sail Brewing Company, and Portland Brewing Company, and Woodmere Brothers Brewing were founded. So 1984, you have a lot of those beer companies, Bridgeport, Full Sail, Portland Brewing, Woodmere's, they're so iconic in the beer scene in Oregon. And even today, they're such a recognizable name when buying beers. I mean, they produce such amazing beers.
That's wild.
They were frustrated at the variety in the local beer market. Kurt Widmer was ready to start producing batches of his own recipe. He said, I have the basic balance down now from 5 years of home brewing. He said, we're using local malt, local hops, because that's how beers distinguish themselves. So it's interesting that one guy in Portland, Kurt, that because he wrote this book, it ended up kind of establishing the legalization of people creating their own beers in their garage.
I had no idea.
Which led to these companies, fast forward to the early 80s, being able to, okay, we're going to take that and turn it into a whole national brand. Because they were tired of not a lot of variety out there, but we love to create, we love to make something else than what's out there. So it's kind of interesting. And in Oregon, I mean, it's been known for having really great breweries, really great beers.
Yeah.
I mean, I know like Napa Valley is known for like the wines, but Oregon, you know, you go over to Bend, Portland, Eugene, even here in Roseburg, there are some really good breweries and really good beers.
Oh yeah. And they're always busy. I feel like they're always popular.
Right.
We have quite a few here in Roseburg that are just the places to go, you know?
Right. The brewing industry economic impact in Oregon is actually nearly $3 billion. It employs about 30,000 people, according to the Brewery Guild. Oregon is the second largest hop producing state in the United States.
Wow.
The brew pubs have become tourist magnets, drawing beer lovers from around the world. McMiniman's alone is now a chain of about 65 brew pubs, breweries, music venues, historic hotels, theater pubs. Many of them house, and they love to do like the restored historic buildings.
Yeah, they do.
Henry Weinhard's City Brewing was, I guess, a class in its own in terms of distribution and reputation. So Weinhard, he immigrated to America in 1852, and he settled in the Pacific Northwest in 1856. He worked with somebody named John Munch, M-U-E-N-C-H, at his Vancouver brewery for 6 months, selling beer to soldiers from Fort Vancouver before opening the bottle brewery in Portland with George Bottler. We kind of start off talking about Fort Vancouver and the trading of liquor and beer, and then going towards talking about Henry Weinhard is also in Vancouver. So it almost sounds like Vancouver, Washington might have been a good spot to learn how to make beer and stuff.
Yeah, that's just right over the border from Portland.
Right. So he returned to Vancouver to work with John here, purchased the brewery from him in 1859. In 1862, Henry Weinhard secured the first liquor license in Portland. He bought Saxer's Brewery, who we talked about, who was supposedly one of the first, he owned Liberty Brewery.
Okay.
He opened City Brewery with Bottler, which they converted into a saloon. He bought out Bottler's interest in 1865 until about 1861, partnered with William Dellinger to run the West Burnside Street facility. When Weinhard died in 1984, Paul Wessinger, his son-in-law, inherited the business, which in 1905 produced about 35,000 barrels.
Wow.
More than any other brewery in the state. Wow. The company merged with Portland Brewing Company in 1928, became the Blitz Weinhard Company, and the Wessinger family was involved until the Miller Brewing Company bought the business, and they closed the Burnside Brewery in 1999. Now, something I know about Henry Weinhard that I didn't read here, but during Prohibition period, because he couldn't produce beer, he actually decided to do sales of cream soda and root beer to keep his business afloat.
Makes sense.
Even though he wasn't allowed to sell alcohol, he figured out a way to kind of keep his business going by making sodas.
Just keep the hops and barley out of it.
Right. That's right. So then Prohibition ended, and he went back into business. So
see, very interesting. Actually, yeah. Oregon,
lots of good breweries, good history about it. I just want to make sure. So I read a lot of that on Oregon Live. The Oregonian, they had a website, or they had an article in 2015 about the history of craft beer. And then I read about a lot of this on Oregon State University has Oregon Hops and Brewery Archives.
Nice.
And then there's just a ton of information on Oregon Encyclopedia, the brewing industry in Oregon by Tia Edmondson Morton, who was the archivist. Tons of information out there. So if any of that piques your interest and you want to know a little bit more about Oregon Brewery, you can just look up Oregon Encyclopedia. Oregon State University has information out there about hops and brewing and stuff. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Is there ever a tour thing? Like you just tour Oregon, like they go up the I-5 and like hit a bunch of different cool breweries?
I don't know. That would be awesome. We used to have something here in town. Backside Brewery, another brewery. You could rent like a bus, and the owner would drive you around to different breweries.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember what it was called. I did it a few years ago for a friend's birthday, but that was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It drives you around, so you don't have to worry about driving. And I would love to start like you ever seen like it's like the pedal. Like
you pedal the thing like in Vegas, right?
Right. You can like rent like the pedal, and then you can like somebody's like I think somebody's actually driving it for you. You don't even think you have to pedal it, right? I
was gonna say it'd be hard to drink it and also pedal.
Right. I've never done it, but it looks like a lot of fun.
That's funny.
You just like tour around the city and you're just like pedaling this giant bike thing, and you just sit there and have drinks or whatever.
I love it. And we segued this into because I can segue it to my trip to Mexico. That's the best part about this. So over Christmas break, I had the amazing opportunity to go visit in-laws in Mexico. We went to Degollado in Jalisco, Mexico. Degollado literally translates to slit someone's throat.
Oh, geez.
But the town was the nicest town I've ever been in my life. So friendly, so nice. I met a lot of great people. I got to spend time in the town. I got to spend time in the little outside neighborhoods. So it wasn't like resort living. In fact, there was no hotels in Degollado. Not a big city at all, but Degollado. But my little story of how I can connect this to today's podcast was, since we had relatives there, we had family, my kids went off with one of their cousins who's there a lot. And they decided to go drive around. It was my son and my two daughters, and they went with their cousin. And
you were nervous?
I was nervous, but they told us where they were going to go at first. And it was a safe route. So my father-in-law said, "Oh yeah, that's safe where they're going. As long as they don't go here, they're fine, right?" Because there's you gotta be careful. Don't
go off trail.
Yeah, especially because you stand out if you're an American somewhat, so you gotta be careful. But sure enough, I think the first place they went to was a place they weren't supposed to go to.
Of course.
But they were gone. They were only supposed to go gone. We were thinking maybe an hour or two. They're gone like 4 hours. So you panic. Like after 2 hours, you start to worry. 3 hours, you're really panicking. 4 hours, you're ready to call National Guard. Like, when your kids go missing, especially in a foreign country, you're going to panic, right?
Right.
And the phone service, spotty. So you can't, it's not something you can just, 4.5 hours later, they come home. And I remember I pulled my son aside. I said, you guys better have a darn good story. Otherwise, we're a little upset, that kind of stuff. But, he said, well, they weren't in control of who was driving, that kind of stuff. And I get it. But he goes, I do have a story. I'm like, well, what happened? He goes, we got stopped by the mayor and he made us take a shot of tequila with him. And I looked at him at first, I'm thinking that's the best made up story. I'm like, well, pics didn't happen. He goes, oh, I have pics. And sure enough, on his phone, he shows me 3 pictures of him meeting the mayor, taking shots of tequila. And then the guy was like, yeah, you're visiting my town. This is a diplomatic thing. You gotta have a shot of tequila with me. My favorite part is my son. He's not a drinker. So he goes, and he told me I shouldn't have had that shot of tequila.
That's amazing.
But the guy but he does. There was official bottles from the mayor, and he gave them to the cousin who was driving, since he was like the ambassador driving people around. He gave him the bottles as the keepsake. But how cool is that? All right. Anyways, it's just the epitome of Mexico.
It's just a great memory.
It was a great memory. It's awesome. The best story. We had just a wonderful time there. It's just a different way of lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like time is almost fluid there. I went, the gringo of me went there to say, like I really wanted to try, I had certain goals. Like one was like, I want to try a breakfast burrito because I'm a big breakfast burrito fan. How embarrassing to get there and ask for a breakfast burrito. And they go, okay. Because
Yeah.
breakfast burritos aren't a thing there. That's not how they do breakfast. They do something where they take, it's really called Mexican sweetbreads and coffee. And that's what you have for breakfast. And the Mexican sweetbreads, oh my gosh, it's akin to a donut. There's just a variety of flavors, fresh every morning. Everyone, that was incredible. But so anyways, let's segue that then into my bad book review.
I'm glad you had a good time.
So, a wonderful trip. I'm going to look for property there. So in typical nerd fashion, I'm going to prepare myself for the trip. So I tried to learn as much Spanish as I could. I tried to read as many books as I could, that kind of stuff. So I got this book. And in mindset, I got it from the Goodwill. I think I paid maybe 50 cents for it.
It looks like a legit good book to learn about.
Yes. Then I will tell the name of the book, but I'm not going to tell the author because we don't
want any hate mail.
Yeah. So here we go. The name of the book is called Living Easy in Mexico.
There could be a lot of different variations and versions of that book. So
yeah,
I think you're good.
So here's the best part about this book. I can only get through the first chapter. This book is written from the very offensive standpoint that you're a rich white person having to put up with the native people. So,
well, you got to live easy though.
So right here. So here I'm going to read this from, this is page 19.
Oh gosh.
Other examples of the difference between the Mexican way of doing things and the American approach can be found in the day-to-day contact you will have with Mexican workers. If you become critical if the plumber doesn't come when he promised, or if the electrician doesn't come at all, or if the upholsterer hasn't even started work on the day he assured you the chair would be ready, then you may nurture a resentment that can only be remedied by returning to the United States.
Oh, jeez.
My favorite part was upset about the upholsterer.
Oh my gosh, right?
I've never...
And then just like, I'm going back to the United States.
Blown away, right?
That's just a 2-page of it.
So this book was written in 1992. And the fact that I never had to call an upholsterer before. I didn't know that was a typical title of a job.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where the whole book really, the first chapter is super offensive. And all I could think was though, as I'm reading this book, I'm also like watching nightly news and people are really upset about immigrants coming over the border. And here we are going down to their country and saying, you guys, it's time, your way of time. I don't know if I like it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not showing up when you're supposed to.
Yeah. How dare you? So yeah, it's not living easy in Mexico.
Not recommended.
Not recommended.
On Mark's banned book list.
It's just, here's my favorite part about this. You know, it's a bad book when what they say is on the back of the book. And the first thing about what they say, you think this is the guy getting other people's recommendations about reading his book? No, first one's from the author.
The author put his own
The author put his own comments about the book. He goes, I love Mexico.
He couldn't find enough people to say
he couldn't find enough people. Yeah.
What they say.
He said, I love Mexico. Relaxed and inexpensive, full of friendly people, more intriguing foreign than many more distant lands, packed with surprising and charming reminders of a great heritage. The author, what they say.
I wonder how many more times he's gone down since.
The newsletter called Adventures in Mexico, and his review was not sadly outdated like most of these.
Are you sure?
Oh,
I love that. Not sadly outdated like most of these.
Right?
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking about reviews.
Yes,
Mark,
please.
Have you ever written a review on restaurants, on housing, on anything, products? Have you ever gone out there and say, I'm so upset about this, I'm going to put my name out here and I'm going to leave either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. It could be positive or negative.
So here's the deal.
It doesn't have to be negative.
I only do positive reviews.
Okay.
Because I have a job. I don't want to lose it.
Because
I've done 3 positive reviews.
Yeah.
One for the people who ended up remodeling my bathroom, who came in behind the people who couldn't do it. Phenomenal work. And I put pictures of before and after and how good their job was. And then I got the thing from Google that it had been viewed like 1,000 times. I did a review on the Indian restaurant Shanties in Roseburg because their food is the best food you could ever eat. I cannot recommend them high enough. The quality is great. So I did a great review on them.
Nice.
And then the other review I actually did an Amazon review, but it was as a courtesy, as a professional courtesy to my fencing instructor.
Oh, nice.
Who wrote his own book. Local author. I read the book. I wrote a positive review the best I could.
Yeah, another medium book review, huh?
We will say that it was written with passion.
Written with passion.
Yep. So, but yeah, so I wrote one Amazon review
Yeah.
and gave it 5 stars. But what do you got?
Oh, I've written a review once. No, I've written multiple reviews.
Okay,
We'll start
okay.
with this one.
Yeah.
I reviewed a pizza place here locally in town. I won't say which one, but I put it out there. Basically, how could you call this pizza? This is terrible. Please redo your ingredients or something. I don't know. I was not happy about their pizza, and they wrote back and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry. You felt this way. Blah 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 blah." I don't know. Now they won't change anything because that's who they are and that's who they've been since the 1970s.
Tell me what was all I did.
It was.
Yes.
I had to review it.
They changed. They're not what they used to be. Anyways,
not my favorite. And then kind of like one of the funniest reviews I've experienced. I was on vacation. We were staying at a rented house by my father-in-law. It was over on the Oregon coast, and I don't know whoever owns the house or whoever is like in charge of like the cleaning, if they just didn't do a review, like a walkthrough before like other people were like coming. But the place was not very clean. There was like flies like in there. But we gutted it out, whatever. We stayed there. We made the best of it. But I decided to go on Yelp. I think it was Yelp, and I left my own review.
Good for you.
I don't even think we unpacked. I don't even think we packed and hit the door before that review and got back to my father-in-law. And he calls my wife, Chelsea, like, why did Eliav leave this review on here?
Oh my gosh.
Like, why didn't he tell me about it and we could have dealt with it with the owner?
This is why you don't.
So the owner was like,
no.
he was like, can you please tell whoever this is to take down this review so we can talk about it? So he ended up giving my father-in-law, I think, his deposit back. He got some sort of refund, and I took the review down. But I kind of learned my lesson a little bit about knowing my place and time when it comes to reviews.
But here's the deal: if they say take it down so we can talk about it,
yeah,
you're not doing your job from the first.
I know. I kind of had a hard time with that too.
Yeah.
But I respected it. I took it down.
Yeah.
I don't remember if there was a contingency of also me just putting up a fake review too, like, oh, we had a great time. I feel like that was in there, but
that was part of the negotiation.
Right, exactly. I know he got some sort of money back too, but
I love it.
But I had to put my 2 cents in because I'm the one who stayed there.
Yeah.
I felt like it was my I had a place to say something.
Yeah, you gotta call it out. You gotta call it out.
I don't know.
You know what's so funny is that I haven't done a bad review, but there's places I can never eat at again.
Yeah.
And usually for me it's when I find hair in the food.
Oh yeah.
I found hair in my food at 3 different places in Roseburg.
Gosh, the worst.
I will not name them.
Yeah,
they will never get my money again.
Right.
And when people say, "Hey, let's go there," I have to pull them aside and say, "Hey, I found a hair in there, and I cannot eat there again."
I feel like I've left other reviews. I just don't remember exactly what, but yeah, I have no problem if it's not something I'm happy with. I will.
Good.
I will be a keyboard warrior, and I will let you know. But I've also left some positive reviews out there.
Yeah.
I'm not all negative. And if you like our podcast, please leave a positive review.
Yeah, right. Yeah. If you have a negative review, please reach out first. See if we can remedy it. See what we can do better to appease you.
Speaking of that,
yes.
If you want to get a hold of our show, email us at Oregon Files Podcast. Message the Instagram account. It's just Oregon Files Podcast. And I will put this out there again. Starting March 1st, we will get some merchandise and a hoodie and a t-shirt. They're really nice. They're comfortable. They're soft. We got our cool logo on the front. They're like dark greenish. Really nice sweatshirts.
Yeah, and we go through a local small company to make them. Yeah.
Right. So hopefully I sold that as well as I could. I'm not used to pushing merchandise, so
that's all I can do.
That's my best spiel.
Yeah.
But again, talking about things that we come across and talking to people that want to be on here and stories and people, and I hope everyone enjoys.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you read any of the Amazon reviews?
I did. Oh my gosh, I didn't do that. I went into that. I asked you that question.
Yeah, we segued in. So
that is so funny.
Hold on, listeners. Hold on. We might have some bad Amazon reviews here.
That is so. I have the whole reason I asked Mark about the reviews. I completely forgot what I was doing. Oh my gosh, that is too funny. But yeah, so I have some bad Amazon reviews.
Let's do it.
There's
Bonus material for our
bonus
listeners
material.
who made it through this part. You get a surprise
That's
bonus.
right. That's right. You got a little extra about where to contact us and about merchandising. So there you go.
I love how this played out. I wonder if people turn off.
I am so glad you remember that.
As soon as we start pitching our end of our stuff, they're like, "Oh, I'm done."
Right.
And everyone's
So
gonna be like,
sorry.
"The best part was
Oh
afterwards."
my
Here we
gosh,
go.
I completely. We're going back to amateur
This is
podcast. We're
amazing.
not even novice now.
No,
We're
this is
back
a
to
treat.
amateur.
This is a nugget.
Boy, I fell asleep there. That's what happened. All right. So the number one is, it was titled Bic. So like the Bic pen.
Yeah.
Bic for her medium ballpoint pen.
Yeah.
My husband has never allowed me to write, as he doesn't want me touching men's pens. However, when I saw this product, I decided to buy it using my pocket money, and so far it has been fabulous. Once I learnt, with a T, to write, the feminine color and the grip size, which was more suited to my delicate little hands, has enabled me to vent thoughts about new recipe ideas, sewing, and gardening. My husband is less pleased with this product as he believes it will lead to more independence, and he hates the feminine tingling sensation along with the visions of fairies and rainbows he gets whenever he picks it up. Now, sometimes I feel like people just go out there and just try to say funny things.
That was, to me, yes, that was. I love that was written. The way it was written, I think it's hysterical, and I love that they're slapping like right. Big pens for her. I mean, come on.
Right. So this one was WMA Blue Amazon Kindle Waterproof Case Cover Protective Bag Pouch. That is a heck of a product name.
Boy, you have to search that.
Reading that again.
Yeah. Jesus.
So they actually gave it 5 stars, hoping it be crap. Her Kindle would slip out and electrocute her.
Oh my goodness.
I got this from my mother-in-law for bath time, hoping it'd be crap. Her Kindle would slip out and electrocute her. So far, this bloody thing is staying in one place. Great for waterproof. Crap for murder.
That is
Who
actually
wrote that?
Here's the best part is that's a great review. It shows how good the product is. That is funny, actually.
Oh my gosh.
I approve.
This one is overhead rubber penguin mask, happy feet animal fancy dress.
It's a dress. Go on.
4 stars. I wear this mask to sing lullabies to my children.
What?
I wear this mask to sing lullabies to my children. They are terrified of this mask. Whenever they protest about their bedtime or ask for too many sweets, I whip on the mask and they soon know who is the king penguin.
Wow.
What in the heck?
I love it.
Okay, this one is called Veet for men hair removal gel cream.
Okay.
I'm just reading this for the first time. I don't even think I can get through this one.
I'm so excited. It says, makes my farts sound louder. The hair must have acted as an interlocking silencer. I give this the big thumbs up. So he did hair removal in his butt for his farts to sound louder.
Okay, Mark had to read that one because I'm literally laughing with tears.
Love it.
This next one is UFO detector.
Okay.
Internal magnometer interface with a microcontrol for 24/7 days a week. What the heck? And they gave it 1 star. I don't know if this is a scam or if mine was broken, but it doesn't work, and I'm still getting abducted by UFOs on a regular basis.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
I love this stuff.
Okay.
This is when we let the general public out.
Oh my gosh, right. This one is The Wolf on Wall Street, the movie.
Okay.
1 star. There were no wolves in the movie.
That's fair. I don't disagree.
This one is uranium ore.
Which I did not know you could legally buy.
Great product, poor packaging. I purchased this product 4.47 billion years ago. When I opened it today, it was half empty. Oh boy.
I love that someone took the time to do a science joke.
Right.
That's amazing.
Right. I'll read one more here. Okay, last one.
Okay.
The Mountain 3 Wolf Moon short sleeve t-shirt. I think everyone knows somebody that owns.
Yes, this was made famous by The Hangover because that's what Zach Galifianakis was wearing. Yes.
So everyone knows what this t-shirt looks like. It's 5-star, great compliment for my skin art. Unfortunately, I already had this exact picture tattooed on my chest. Now this shirt is very useful in colder weather. Those are your reviews for Amazon, and I apologize for the cracking up in the middle of that,
That's
because
the best
that
part.
one I should have read through those before. I even thought like I should number them so I know which ones I'm reading, but my gosh, those are too good.
That's so good.
Anytime you let the public
Right.
out and just writing reviews, you're gonna get stuff like that. So
El, where can people find us?
I feel like I've said this about 4 times now on this episode. I totally forgot we were talking about more stuff. My gosh.
I loved it.
If you guys want to get hold of us, OregonFilesPodcast@yahoo.com. Message on Instagram, even Facebook, I believe you can message us. Hoping everyone enjoys this clunky show as as we go through this one. And we appreciate everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Cheers.